Hello and welcome back to Mediocre Motors, and staying true to the channel name, I'd been on the hunt again for a cheap car that I could improve and sell on for some profit. I stumbled upon another Subaru for sale, this time a 2008 Impreza 1.5 litre hatchback, for just £650. I travelled to view the car and I decided I wanted to buy it. I saw 4 Michelin tyres on it, and that seemed to me like a sign it had been well looked after. Tyres are generally a good indication of how well a car's been looked after. If you see a car with 4 mismatched budget tyres on it, you can tell that the owner spent the bare minimum on maintaining it. But 4 matching premium tyres is always a good sign, especially on an all-wheel drive car like this one, which requires the tread depth on all 4 tyres to be similar. I negotiated just £50 off the price, insured and taxed the car, and drove it home. And so onto the list of issues. The most obvious is the bodywork damage on the passenger side. Then we had some scuffs and cracks on the bumpers, the exhaust heat shield that was rattling, the door mirror that had lost its glass. You can see here I taped on a spare mirror glass that I had. The driver's door lock barrel didn't turn with the key. Part of the driver's door card fell off. And I also wanted to give the car a service and a thorough valet before sale. Looking back at it now, this was a huge list and this car didn't really make sense for me to buy. On the plus side though, it did have some nice features like xenon headlights, cruise control and all-wheel drive, which I thought would make it quite appealing to a buyer, as well as its mileage, which was still in the 5 figures. I'd also taken one of the timing covers off to inspect the cam belt, and it looked to have been replaced at some point judging from its condition and the pen marks from when they would have checked the timing after doing the job. I decided first to try and address the elephant in the room, which was the bodywork. It wasn't just that it looked bad, but the passenger side door caught on the front wing every time you opened it. I'd bought all the materials I needed to fill and paint the damaged areas, but first I needed to get it roughly back into shape. After 2 hours of swearing trying to get to some very hard to access bolts, I got the front wing off the car to try and bash it back into shape from the inside with a hammer. I'd watched one YouTube video and completely ignored its advice. After a while, I'd sort of reformed it back into a normal looking shape, although the surface was quite bumpy and I'd probably stretched the metal by hitting it too hard. I put the wing back on the car, but when I moved around the car I realised that the damage on the door and the rear quarter was on a part that was double skinned, meaning I couldn't push it out from the inside as there was another layer of metal in front of it. I'd have to try and pull the damage out from the outside, which is easier said than done, especially if you don't have a spot weld dent puller tool. I tried ordering the next best thing, a slide hammer that hooks onto plastic tabs which you use hot glue to attach to the bodywork. I tried for ages and used up 3 glue sticks, but I just couldn't pull the dents out of the car. Every time I put any force into it, it just pulled the tab off the car. I decided to accept defeat and admit that I was going to have to sell the car with this damage still unrepaired, as I didn't have the budget to pay a professional to do the bodywork. My service parts for the car arrived, so I got it back on the ramps and did an oil and filter change. Whilst the oil was draining, I changed the engine's air filter and the cabin air filter, which evidently hadn't been changed in a long time. I noticed whilst I was under the car that a bolt was missing from an exhaust heat shield, which explained the rattling sound at lower RPMs. I found a nut and bolt and just tightened them together as much as I could, which seemed to solve the issue. The next issue that I wanted to tackle was the door lock barrel. I'd hoped it was just going to be that it needed to be freed up, so I got some silicone spray from the garden centre and sprayed it into the lock and wiggled the key around, but I had no luck. I assumed that the door lock barrel must have been for a different key, which seemed odd. Since the remote function of the key didn't work even though I'd changed the battery, there was no way of locking or unlocking the car from the outside, which I imagine would put a potential buyer off the car. I watched a video on disassembling a door lock barrel to reprogram it for a different key, and it didn't look like something I wanted to try as I knew I'd never be able to put it back together again. I went on eBay and I ordered the only new lock barrel and matching key that I could find. It was from a Japanese import WRX, and I was worried it wouldn't be the same as the one in my car. When I took the door apart to get to the mechanism, I could see that it was very rusty and seized up. So I decided to replace it with the new one just to see if it worked. Thankfully it did work, although it did mean that there was one key for the door and a different one for the ignition. Whilst I was waiting for a few other bits to arrive, I decided to get started on the valeting process, and I gave the interior a thorough vacuum, and I found 12p in the car. Although just like the Legacy, there was dog hair everywhere. Feeling a little disheartened from my failure to repair the bodywork, I set about sorting out the sad-looking bumpers. I wasn't after perfection anymore, as I knew I wouldn't be able to ask market value for the car. I tried out my new plastic welding gun to bring the cracked parts of the bumpers back into shape. I thought it worked quite well. Every time I got in the car and shut the door, the armrest on the driver's door fell off. As I didn't have the budget to buy a whole new door card, I tried to repair it myself. I peeled back the leather, put some wood screws through the armrest, before laying the leather back over the wood screws and tucking it in around the edges. It didn't look perfect, but it did the job. I'd also tried to repair the door mirror in a similarly rudimentary fashion, although it didn't really work very well. So I found a replacement from Impreza and fitted that. When I got the car, it was missing a headlight washer cover, so I ordered a new one, but it was unpainted. I keyed it up and then sprayed it with some colour match spray paint I bought, before lacquering over the top. Unfortunately, the colour match was completely wrong. So I returned the paint, ordered from a different company, and this time the colour match was perfect. I then continued with the interior valeting by working from top to bottom, cleaning all the plastic surfaces with G101 all-purpose cleaner, a detailing brush and a microfiber cloth. I then used glass cleaner to clean any glass and shiny surfaces before I put the floor mats back in. I then gave the outside of the car a thorough clean as well, using wash and wax shampoo, and then I cleaned the brake dust from the wheels using fallout remover and a wheel brush. I gave the engine bay a quick clean too, and then I used touch-up paint to take attention away from the scrapes on the bumpers. I ended up also using it to paint over the exposed metal on the bodywork. Two of the wheel center caps looked a bit sad, so I took them out and gave them a quick coat of paint. I also put some tyre dressing on the tyres to make the wheels look a lot smarter. I'd been trying to think realistically about the value of the car, and I decided it wouldn't make sense financially to fix every single issue, because it wouldn't add as much value to the car as it would cost me to fix. Obviously there was the bodywork, but I also opted to leave the damaged boot trim how it was, as it's not really something you spend a long time looking at. I wasn't really very pleased with how this car turned out, to be honest. I think I paid too much for it in the first place, which didn't give me enough budget to fix the issues. I'd looked at similar cars for sale, and there was an identical car but in better condition and with lower mileage, advertised for £3,300. I took some photos and a walk around video of my car, before advertising it on Facebook for £1,400. I was willing to accept offers on it. After a month or so with little interest, I reduced the price and ended up selling the car for £1,100. I was glad to have got rid of it, to be honest. So let's go through the numbers and see whether I made a profit. So the car cost £600, then it cost me £345 to tax it and £97.78 to insure it. I put £30 of fuel in it, ordered touch-up paint for £6.75, service parts for £72.72, a set of number plates for £12.50, some coolant for £17.49, deionized water for £1.79, some bodywork materials that I didn't end up using for £33.22, a headlight washer cover for £9.73, some colour match paint for £24.99, some sandpaper for £3.98, I can't actually remember what I used that for. The door lock barrel and key was £49.93, a blank key that I bought but never got cut was £5.55, then some more colour match paint was £18.48. The door mirror was an eye-watering £59.99, and then my insurance ran out, so I had to renew it for £797. My total spend at this point was £2,186.90. So how much did I get back, and most importantly, did I make or lose money? The sale price for the car was £1,100, and when I sold it, insurance refunded me £697.91. The DVLA refunded me £230 for the tax. I got £24.99 refunded for the bad colour match on the paint, and we can't forget the 12p I found in the car. But unfortunately, that's it, so we end up with a loss of £133.88 on this one. To be honest, this was my fault for buying this car in the first place. There was never any money in it for me, but I learnt from it, and hopefully I'll make better car buying decisions in the future. Thanks again for watching, and keep your eyes out for the next video, where it goes even worse than in this one.